Hello everybody, I'm Brenda and I love to cross stitch. You probably already know that. This is a channel about cross stitch. It is the last day of November. I think it's Saturday. Is that the last day of November? I think tomorrow's the 1st because it seems like I have to be back to work Monday on the 2nd. I've been out on vacation since Tuesday. Tuesday was my last day of work, and then we had Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off because I work at a school. So it's been lovely. I've been doing a lot of stitching. I didn't have any other obligations this week during my vacation except just cooking and cleaning for Thanksgiving and spending time with family on Thanksgiving Day. That was Thursday. So I've been stitching on Lauren's stocking. More about that in a minute. I took some footage yesterday while it was snowing. It rarely snows in Utah in November, but this is our second storm this month already. It's been a crazy year. So I took some footage yesterday of the beautiful snow and some this morning of the wee village and what it looks like. So I will insert that right here. So I'm sitting here stitching and just had to stop for a minute and show you how gorgeous of a day it is. Stitching on Lauren's stocking. Close to a finish, but you know, so close but still hours away. Eating my Thanksgiving leftovers. Sitting by my space heater that makes me think I'm in front of a fire. Watching Monty Don on TV, one of my favorite shows. All about gardening, of course, makes me happy. And enjoying seeing a beautiful snowstorm. Snow is just coming down today. Here is my stitching space. Hope you're all having just a lovely, lovely day. We had quite the snowstorm over the last couple of days. So I thought I'd show you the wee village. My snow boots on. See if we can make it out there. Wasn't that? It snowed all day yesterday. Just a gentle snow falling down. It wasn't a blizzard or anything. Temperatures were in the low 30s. But apparently the temperatures and the humidity were just perfect so that as the snow fell, it stuck to whatever it hit first and froze there. So it's like almost like an ice storm, how the snow is stuck to every little thing. I did not bring all my wee village in yet this year because we rarely get snow in November, and this is our second snowstorm in November. What's today? Is today the last day of November, I think? All right, here it is, buried. So this snow will not stay on the ground. I'm guessing in a week or two it will be melted again. And then I'll come out and take all of my little houses in for the winter. When I look out this window right here, I can see the wee village, and the little solar lights are still working, so I'll look out and the little solar lights have come on and buried in snow. It's Very cute. Winter in the village. Okay, let's start with some housekeeping. Some viewer questions. Not really housekeeping, viewer questions, right? Cynthia commented on something, not the video I did with Marie, but the one before that. Something I was showing you and I had made a mistake. And she commented and said that's just called personalized, and she personalizes all of her projects. And that made me laugh right out loud, Cynthia. I love that. So I'm going to use that term from now on. When you make a mistake and you have to redesign around it because you don't want to rip it out, that's just called personalization. I love that. Lilia asked me to please work on a Stitcher shelf, my Heaven and Earth design, so I could show that. And Lilia, I did, just for you. A couple of weeks ago, I pulled it out. I think it was a week ago Saturday. I pulled it out and put in, I think, 3 hours on it. So I will show that in the whips in just a little bit. And Sarah asked if I mentioned that I love cross-stitch patterns that have the nativity in them and that I kind of collect them and love to stitch them, and she asked if I would show my collection of nativity patterns. So I will do that as the old finish and what I wish I was stitching on. I'll show that in that section, Sarah, so at the end of the video. And then Janet asked if I would show how I prepare an overdyed skein of floss to stitch with, how I work with overdyed floss when I'm stitching. So I made a couple of short little videos of me stitching and showing how I use overdyed floss, how I get it out of the skein and how I prepare it to stitch with, and then how I stitch with it. And then I also showed how I thread a needle and how I start and end stitches, and I even showed a little bit about a laying tool and how that works and railroading. So I will insert that right here. I'm stitching on Praiseworthy Stitches, a Churchyard Christmas. And let's see if we can make this work so I can show you. I have a, oh, don't do that. I have a little step stool right here in front of me, a little ottoman. That's what it is. Because I usually stitch with this is not my normal stitching spot, obviously. I'm usually upstairs in the new room. But I usually put my feet up and lean back a little bit. In my regular stitching spot, I have a pillow that goes right here to support my lower back. But because I have issues with my upper back and my neck, I need to be leaning back to stitch. I can't be hunched over stitching. So I stitch like this. I'll do another camera angle in a minute so you can actually see what I'm stitching. And I need my glasses on. If you would like more information about my stand, my glasses, my setup, that is all in video number, if you go back to number 19, I show you my stitching spot and I go over all the details of how I stitch. So go back to number 19 if you want all the details about everything that I use. My scissors are right here in my dad made it for me. It's like a knife block where you keep kitchen knives, so you can get in a block, but he made this for me for scissors. I love being able to just put them down in here and then pick them up, because if I put them down on the table that's next to my stitching spot, it's a hard wood table, they just sometimes slide right off onto the floor, which is not a good thing. So I love being able to stick them right back in there. All right, I am working on the little house in the top right corner. Oh, and started out with a knot already, my goodness. I am railroading the top leg of this piece, and I will show you that in a minute when we change the camera angle. I am a one-handed stitcher. My left hand stays underneath to help guide the needle, and my right hand moves back and forth. I'm using overdyed variegated cotton floss on this project, the called for fabric and the called for floss. I have a fluorescent light in here that's being weird. Sorry, you can probably see that. So I am crossing my X's as I go because I'm using the overdyed variegated floss and I want to see the color changes. You don't have to cross as you go. You can do a row of one way and then come back and finish the X going the other way. It just makes the colors make more of a tweedy look instead of keeping all the lights and darks together. All right, I am going to end, it's not quite to the end of the thread, but I'm going to end it just so for purposes of this video. I'm going to turn it over to the back, go under a couple of threads of stitches, go under the backs of a couple of stitches, 3 or 4, and then cut it off. My good gravy. Lost my needle. Isn't that how it always goes, right? Oh, there it is. There we go. I keep my floss in floss away bags on a ring. It's the kind, it's like a key ring holder that screws shut. And when I'm feeling very extravagant, I put a little charm on the floss holder. I don't always. Jana asked me to show how I prepare an overdyed thread, a skein, to get ready to use it. So right now I'm using roasted marshmallow, but that one's already been opened. So let's just, for demonstration, show you a different one. I'll put this down for just a minute. Some overdyed floss, like Gentle Arts. Let's find one that's not. Here's moss. Some brands come pre-cut. Gentle Arts is one of the ones that comes with pre-cut links. So it comes like this. So I just, the first time I'm going to use it, I pull it off the card. I put the card back in the little baggie, just so I have it written on the front of the bag as to what color it is, but I always just put the card back in the bag. And then you just unfold it in half, and it's a loop now with the cut ends at the bottom. So if you undo the loop, then you have, whoops, I missed one of the loops. Then you have 5 pieces, which is probably, yeah, 5 yards. 5 1-yard pieces. I tend to stitch with a yard piece, but if you have a piece that long, then it's much more likely to tangle. And if you're not careful about coming straight up and going straight down, then you can wear the thread out when it's that long and it will start to fray and get fuzzy. So it's probably not a good idea to stitch with a whole yard length. You should probably cut it in half, which I do sometimes. Oh, sorry. So I hold the tops in my fingers and I pull one out. And I lay that down over my stitching. I coil the rest of this up, put it back in the bag. Okay, so here's my one piece. I do the same thing. I hold this in my hand, in my fingers. I get a hold of one strand. I am using 2 strands right now to stitch. So I get a hold of one first, and while I'm holding it in my fingers, I pull that out. Now I want to remember which is the top and which is the bottom, so I keep a hold of the top and I carefully lay it over the top of my stitching like this, so I know that the top is up here. Then I pull out one more. See if I can get a hold of one. I pull out another one. And I lay it next to the other one on top of my stitching so that both tops are at the top. Then I straighten this one out, wrap it around my fingers, and stuff it back in the bag. So now there's this coil and this coil back in the bag. Then I close the bag. Even I had a teacher tell me once that even if your big piece, you know, that you've been pulling ones off, it's now down to 2 strands. So you could just use it like that. You could pick it up and go, oh, it's already 2 strands, I'm just going to use it. But she told me you should always separate the strands. They will lay better. They won't be all twisted together like they came in the skein. You'll have much more even look to your stitching if you always separate them and then put them back together. Put your 2 strands back together. So then I carefully pick up these 2 that have been laying over my stitching so that I keep the tops together, because you don't want to mix up your colors. I even up the tops and then straighten it out, because you want the darks and the lights of that 2 pieces to stay together. If you get a top of one and the bottom of another, then the darks and lights are not going to be together. So that's how I do it on the pre-cut lengths. I'm going to put this away now. Same thing, I just coil it up and I stick it back in the bag with all the other ones. I've never had any of my coils get tangled. I just stuff them in the bag and they're fine. Next time I need a piece, I can tell which one was just 2 strands and which one was... Alright, now other manufacturers like Weeks Dye Works, let's find a Weeks Dye Works that hasn't been used yet, does not come in pre-cut lengths. Oh, here's one, Goldenrod. It comes like this. It's one big loop hooked to this card, so I'm going to take it off the card. Put the card back in the bag. And if I carefully open up the loop, it looks like this. It's one big loop, one big skein. So I find the end, I kind of put it on my fingers like this, and I pull off however long. That's probably good right there. I don't measure it, I'm just like, oh, about this long. Sometimes it depends on what you're stitching on, how long of lengths you use. And I cut it, so I have this much. I'm going to lay that down on my stand, and I just kind of fold this in half and stuff it back in the bag, because that's how I am. I want to be stitching. I don't want to be spending time playing with the floss. And then I do the same thing. I get a hold of one little strand, hold it in my fingers, pull that out. Oh, that one got caught. Straighten out the tail just a little bit and then pull that out. Lay that over my stitching, straighten this out again, get a hold of one more, pull that out, lay that next to the other one, straighten this one out, put it away. And then I would put the 2 tops together, which I was careful to lay down so that the tops were together. And then I would thread the needle, which I will show you with the actual roasted marshmallow that I'm going to stitch with. And I'll show you how I thread a needle. How's that? So roasted marshmallow. I have these in alphabetical order on here, so I can, if I was using DMC, they'd be in numerical order, but overdyed floss, I just go by the name of it. Some of them have numbers, some of them just have names. So here's my roasted marshmallow piece. So if I'm using ones that have names, I do them in alphabetical order. Unless you just have 6 or 8 colors and it doesn't matter, you can tell what you're looking for. Wind that up, put it back in the bag. Put my 2 tops together. Even that up, straighten it out. And thread the needle. All right. My daughter Catherine showed how she and I thread a needle. Probably a year ago. So I figured I'd show you again. I have a big, huge yarn needle and some yarn so you can see it better. So I lay the yarn over the top of the needle, over the eye. I put my fingers on it and I pull that needle up hard to pull that yarn down over that needle really tight. Then I pull the needle out, but it's still pinched in my fingers right here. You can see the top of it. Then I turn the eye so that it's going to go down. It was like this. I'm going to turn it this way, and I keep pinching the thread really hard, and I just push the needle down through my fingers over that thread, and then I catch it with kind of the top of it as it's coming out, move my fingers so I'm catching the top of it, and I just pull. My mom taught me how to thread a needle like that when I was young, probably 8, and I just thought that's how everybody threaded a needle. It is awkward at first. I was teaching someone at work how to stitch over the last month, and I showed her how to thread it that way. And sometimes she could get it, sometimes she couldn't in the little 5 minutes that we were trying it. So if you struggle with threading a needle and you would like to be able to thread one faster, that's a great way to do it, but you will have to practice a little bit probably for it to become easier. Sometimes your thread is too fat for the needle you're using, like 2 strands. Getting 2 strands into a size 28 needle is really, really hard. So if you are really struggling to thread your needle, it could be that your needle is too small for how many strands you're using. Normally you would use, the size needle depends on what size fabric you're using. If you're using 36 count fabric or 40 count fabric, linen, you usually use a 28 needle. But if you're using a 14 count or 28 count linen, or 32, well, 28 count or 14, it's 14 stitches per inch on Aida, it's 28 threads per inch on linen, but it's both the same thing, 14 stitches per inch. You usually use a 24 needle. If you're using fabric that is 32 count, or in Aida that would be 16 count because it's 16 stitches per inch, then you would use a 26 needle. So in general, you use a needle depending the size of your fabric so that you're not making, if you use too big of a needle on tiny fabric, it will actually make holes it will separate the threads as the big needle is going in and out, which isn't a big deal. But I find that the needle goes in and out like silk if I'm using the right size needle with the right size fabric. And generally, if you're doing that, then getting your 2 strands through that, because on 14 count, 28, or 32 count, 16, 2 threads, you use 2 strands. And so those needles the eye is big enough to get the strands through. 36 count and 40 count, which would be 18 count and 20 count Aida. I don't even know if you can buy 20 count Aida. I know you can get 18 count Aida. That you're usually only using 1 strand of thread. I do have my kit, Victorian Charm, is on 18 count Aida, and it is using 2 strands of thread, but It's the kit floss that came with it, and those strands are really thin. And I don't usually have a problem threading that needle. Usually you're using, on 40 count, you're using one strand. So getting one strand into a 28 count needle is not hard. All right, so that is how I thread my needle. If I'm using DMC, then I loop the floss in half and I start with the loop start. But when I'm using overdyed variegated thread, I can't do that because I have two strands laying next to each other. I can't loop it. You could loop it, but again, you're going to get that tweedy look where the lights and darks are no longer together, but it's still beautiful. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. When I first got my lap stand, I was tired of flipping it over so many times to start a thread. So I taught myself how to start a thread, not the loop method. I still have to turn it over if I'm doing the loop method. But if I'm just starting regular, where you're just holding the thread behind while you do a couple of stitches over it to hold it, and I taught myself how to do it on here without having to flip it over. So I get a hold of the thread on the back, and I can feel it pulling through my fingers. I can tell when I've reached the end. So I leave about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch back there, and I hold it with my fingers. I push it over to the side so that I know it's going in the right direction, and just hold it there. This is the one time that I don't cross as I go. I'm just going to do 2 or 3 stitches, and I'm just going to do the first part of the X to hold that thread in place. And then I can take my finger off. After 2 or 3 stitches, that tail has been secured. It's not going anywhere. You do not have to do it that way. You can, it is really hard to leave a little tail, you know, leave a 1/2 inch tail, turn it over, kind of hold it with your fingers, hold it down like this, then flip it back over and do your stitches, which is why I finally taught myself how to do it without looking. But you can do it by turning it over to look. But the other way to do it, which would probably be easier if you're going to flip it over and look, is you've got your new thread, you know about where you need it, so you go under 2 or 3 stitches of something next to it, pull it all the way out, so it's just, you've got just a bare little tail showing after you've gone under 3 stitches, and then you go under the last stitch again. So you're catching that last stitch. That's another easy way to start. And I do that a lot if I'm not doing the loop start. And when we change camera angles so that you can see what I'm stitching, I'll show you that. If you try and bring your needle straight up and pull it straight down, there's less wear and tear on your thread as it's going in and out, and your tension will be more even. Your stitches will look more consistent. And you will have less problem with fraying your threads or shredding them. Sometimes that just depends on the thread you're using and the fabric you're using. Some fabric is just really hard on threads as it's going. It's just rough. It's hard on it going in and out, and it's going to shred and fray no matter what you do. Just use a lot shorter lengths, and just know that it's not your fault. It's just the thread, or it's the fabric, or it's the combination of both of them. Sometimes you have a piece that's having a specialty look to it, so it wants you to use 3 strands because you're doing, I did one with sunflowers, and those middle stitches in the middle of the sunflower, they wanted you to use 3 strands because they wanted that to be really thick and textured. But getting those 3 strands through that fabric was hard. You had to pull a little bit harder, and it was hard on the threads to force those 3 threads through. So sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Just use shorter strands. All right, I will see if I can move the camera so that you can see over my shoulder and watch me stitch. Okay, I have my pattern right here on a magnet so that it's close by and I don't have to look very far away. I feel like that makes me stitch faster to not have to keep looking down to wherever the pattern is. I do railroad the top leg. Some people railroad both legs. I just do the top leg of the X. So the bottom leg, that first leg, I don't. But this top leg, I'm going to go through, put my needle between the two strands of thread before I go back down in the hole. And that makes those two lay right next to each other nicely. So I kind of look at where how they're coming up, where would be, which way I want to split the threads so that they'll lay nicely. You can just play with that for a few minutes while you're doing it. It'll make sense to you. As I said, I am crossing my X's as I go because I'm using overdyed thread and I want the lights and darks to stay together. So I just put my needle between the two strands before I go back down again. The other way to make sure that those two strands are laying nicely together and not getting twisted is with a laying tool, which, oh, I don't have one right next to me right now. Let me go get one and I'll show you how that works. This is a laying tool. It's called a BLT, Best Laying Tool Ever. Comes in this little container. It looks like this. It's a square edged up here where you hold on to it down to a very fine point. So be careful with it. Serious embroidery people. Oh dear, where's my glasses? Like, you know, Royal School of Needlework, making something serious. If you're using more than one strand, you always use a laying tool. But you would have to have your stitching on a stand because it takes two hands. And you would pull those threads up with your laying tool, make sure they're laying just right, and then you would pull it out as it lays down. And you would be doing that on both parts of the X. Kind of pull it up, make sure they're laying nicely, lay that down. I love the BLT because it's metal and you can put it down on a needle minder. And then pick it up. Hopefully you can see that. Kind of pull up on those threads, make sure they're laying right nicely, and lay it down. If you are using 3 or 4 threads, a laying tool makes them lay gorgeous, especially if you're doing satin stitch with 3 strands at a time, or even 2 strands. I will use a laying tool because it makes it lay so nice. I almost forgot. I said I was going to show you how to start a thread using the other method. So you would go under 2 or 3 stitches, pull it up so you have just a tiny tail, and then go under that very last one more time. And that tacks it down tight enough, and then you can flip it over and start stitching. That is my other favorite way to start a thread if I can't do the loop start. Okay, let's talk about the finish, the fabulous finish I had last week. I have been stitching on the front of a sweater this design. It's the Four Seasons series by Debbie Mumm and Mill Hill, and this is Pine Hill House. I started this a year ago on the front of a sweater, thinking I could wear it to work last year. Realized I wasn't even anywhere near finishing it like a week before school was out, so I just put it away and thought, no, I don't feel like working on this anymore. I'll just save it for next year. So I did pull it out at the beginning of November. I've been working on it. I was working on it on my 2 videos ago when I did all my whips, but I forgot to show it to you. But I have since finished it because I just wanted it to be done. And this is what it looks like. This is the sweater. It is a men's George sweater from Walmart that I bought last year in a lovely oatmeal color because I couldn't find a sweatshirt in a lovely oatmeal color. I didn't want a white sweatshirt because I wanted the white snow to show up. And I couldn't find a sweatshirt in a color I liked, so I went with a sweater. It's a very tiny weave, tiny stitches sweater, not huge stitches, so I couldn't do the duplicate stitch. That's where you can just use the stitches in the sweater to do your stitches, but this is too tiny of stitches, so I couldn't do that. So I used waste canvas. If you would like more details on how I set it up, how I used waste canvas, how it worked, I showed all that in my video last year. It would be video number 7, and if you go to time mark 11 minutes and 30 seconds, that's where I start talking about how I set this up. I used the called for DMC colors, although I did use the whole 6-stranded piece of floss to stitch with a huge needle with a huge eye. This is, I tell you in the other video, it's something like 8.5 stitches per inch waste canvas. So these are really large stitches, which is why you're using the whole strand, all 6 strands of DMC floss all together as one in a huge needle. They are big stitches. I did not use beads. Wherever it calls for beads, I used yarn, which is fat and kind of puffy. You can kind of tell that it gives it some texture where the yarn is. Like there's a little row of it right here for the snow. There's a little bit of red on top of the chimneys. I did modify a little bit. These pine cones had beads and were stitched a little different, and I just stitched them like that. I did use just 2 strands for these floss for those pine needles. I did not enjoy stitching this. I love the finished product, and I will enjoy wearing it to work, but I did not enjoy stitching it. I don't enjoy stitching on waste canvas. You have to pull just a little bit harder to get the yarn and the thread through the sweater. It's kind of awkward to stitch on because you have to go through the bottom of the sweater. You can't go around the side like I'm used to. I had to keep sticking my hand underneath. Not my favorite. This was, you know how I've talked about before, back in video number 19, where I talked about what kind of a stitcher I am and my whole setup and my stand and everything that I use. I talked about how I'm a process stitcher, not a project stitcher. Well, this was a project that needed to be done that I was not enjoying, and I did not enjoy it at all. I am not a good project stitcher. I am just happy that it's finished. So happy. Love how it turned out. It's going to be a lot of fun to wear to work. I'll probably wear it either every Friday in December. We have 3 weeks of school, 3 Fridays, or at least 2 of the Fridays in December. But I'm excited. So I'm sure you're all thinking, well, I want to see what it looks like on, so I will go put it on right now. And we're back. Here it is. I'll try and sit up. So that's what it looks like modeled on. Okay, so we've done the finish. What else is there? Let's do whips. So you may be wondering how the stocking challenge is going. As I said, I have been stitching all weekend. If I wasn't, oh, sorry, I forgot to close the door. That messes with the lighting. I've been stitching all weekend, hours and hours and hours. I actually set a timer yesterday, and I stitched for 11 hours yesterday on the stocking. I haven't been stitching on anything else this weekend, just the stocking, because I would so love to just be done with it this weekend. And there's the challenge going on with Marie. If you don't know about the challenge, watch the video just before this one, the little 6-minute video where Marie and I talk about our stocking challenge. She texted me at 1:30 in the morning to see where I was. I had texted her at 9:30 telling her I was done with the stitching and all I had left was backstitch to go. Miles and miles and hours of backstitch. And I was already in bed, but she texted me at 1:30. I went to bed about 12:30. She texted me at 1:30 and said, "How far did you get?" So, Marie, go to bed. Don't stay up till 1:30. She sent me a picture yesterday afternoon sometime. Maybe at 9:30 when I sent her my picture, she sent me a picture. And she was about halfway done with the toe at that point. But who knows how long she stitched on it after that. Then she sent me a picture this morning of her stitching stuff, her little box with her needles and stuff in it, and her scissors and the pattern and some floss just strewn all over the floor. And she texted me and said, "How dare you come over to my house in the middle of the night and sabotage this project so that you can win?" So I texted back and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what happened? Was it Caden?" And she said, "No, Caden was in bed. I think it was the cat." So that's crazy. So someone's trying to sabotage Marie so I can win. I still have, here's where it is. As I said, all of the stitching is finished. But I still have lots of back stitching to go. The sun is shining through it. Let's see if we can fix that. All of this is back stitched. I'm right here. Last night I did the French horn and the stool and these poinsettias. Oh my gosh, those took 100 years last night. But I still have the music stand left to go. All this cello, this minuscule quilt behind the cello, the sheet music on the floor, another poinsettia over here. I love this doll and this little bear. They turned out so cute. And the drum at the bottom. There's a triangle sitting in front of the drum. There are more musical instruments in this stocking. Oh my goodness. We're going to have to count them up. There must be at least 15. There is blending filament in this tassel right here and right here, and the one up here on the trumpet. There's gold outlining on these Jingle Bell ribbons. I can either do gold beads on these ribbons and these two right here to put so it looks like there's jingle bells on them, but I think I'm going to get on the internet and see if I can find miniature jingle bells small enough that would go on there that would actually jingle when you shook the stocking. I think that would be fun. My sister-in-law Juliana said she did that, so I think I could find some. So there's still all this back stitching to go, plus French knots and French knots and French knots. So if I can get several hours in on it today, I am hoping for a finish today. Marie, I'm going to finish today. I'll just let you take the pity project, the 6 fat men, you can just take that out of the challenge. We'll just leave it as the 2 stockings. But it's going to be done today. I don't care if I have to stay up half the night. It's going to be done today. We're done with this project. We are just done. I would love to work on my other Christmas projects in December. I'll get to those in a minute. Okay, there are 7 colors of French knots still left to do. there's the blue 321 ones on the feather tree. That's the this bird tree that's sitting on top of the piano. That's called a feather tree. There's a whole bunch of French knots on that. There's some brown for all of the eyes and the piano decoration that's on the piano for the eyes of the bear and the doll. There are red French knots for the cranberry strings, the popcorn strings, which is 3 French knots together to make it look like a popcorn. There is a whole bunch of dark brown 3371 French knots wherever there's musical notes. Wherever there's a note, there's a French knot. And then there is 727 and 725. Oh, yellow French knots for all the centers. A little clump of French knots in the center of every poinsettia. So lots of French knots still to go. They go pretty fast, but yeah, there's just still more to go on this stocking. I have no idea how close Marie is because I don't know how late she stayed up. She just had the toe left to do, that camouflage looking toe, which she was already halfway done with last night at 9:30. And then she just had the name at the top. So it's going to be a race. I will post to Instagram. My Instagram is Handwork Maniac. Marie's Instagram is listed in the comments below. It's PR underscore or something. I don't know off the top of my head, but you can see it in the comments, in the description box below. Marie's bossy daughter Marie's Instagram is listed. I will post to Instagram the minute I'm done, and I'm assuming Marie will too, or she'll text me and then I'll post and say Marie's done. If you want to find out who wins today, that's how we're going to do it. And then of course I'll tell you in the next video. In fact, we hopefully will be able to make a video either before the baby's born or after the baby's born, and we'll talk about it and show you our finished stockings. Oh, and here's my 2 daughter-in-laws. If you go back to the video a year ago where we showed all of our stockings on Thanksgiving Day, you'll know that my 2 daughter-in-laws asked if I would make them each a stocking to match their husbands. So this is the one I made for my daughter-in-law Hannah. It was the kitchen. And this is the Heirloom Stocking series by Better Homes and Gardens. It was originally in their Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine. They did a stocking in this series every July-August issue in the 80s and 90s. Then they reprinted them, most of them, in a book called Heirloom Christmas Stockings in Cross Stitch. This has 9 of the stockings. There's one more that is a little gardener's shed kind of a one. And I found another one as well that's a crafter's room that looks like it should go with this series. It doesn't have the blocks for the name, which all of these did, has these little alphabet blocks for the name, but it's so similar. It could totally go with this series too if you wanted that one. It's a crafter's room. All of those are on. This book was printed and gone out of print twice. You can find it on eBay for an insane amount of money. But these patterns are also all available on the Cooler Design Studio website, which is Sandy Orton, the original designer from the magazines. Cooler, K-O-O-L-E-R, Design, Cooler Design Studio website. And you can buy. And 123 Stitches also has, I think, most of these stockings from Cooler Design listed on their website as well. You can just buy the one stocking at a time as a PDF. And that's where I saw the gardener one. I have a printout of that one. This is the gardener, like a little garden potting shed stocking. And that's also where I saw the other one on the Cooler Design Studio website that looks like a crafting room. A crafter's room. Okay, that's the stocking update. They're on 28 count mushroom Lugana because that's what I did all of my other kids is on. I did one for all of my kids and my husband and I back in the 90s. So then they were all on 28 count mushroom Lugana, so that's what these are on as well with the called for DMC threads. Although I noticed, and I don't know if they're all this way, I'd have to go back and look. The pattern calls for 3 strands of floss to make it a really dense filled in stitch. And I didn't do that on any of mine. Mine are all 2 strands of floss, because 3 strands of floss is just, it's harder to work with. It's harder to make the stitches lay down nicely. It's just harder. It looks fabulous. It really does. So if you want to do it that way, go for it. The model on the front of the magazines with the 3 stitches are gorgeous. 3 strands are gorgeous. But all of mine are with 2 strands. Otherwise, I did it completely as called for in the magazine, which is what I had originally. And then in the book, it looks like as they've reprinted them over the years, it's the exact same colors of floss, same directions, same everything. Although the ones that were in the magazine were just red and black colors of ink. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm going to have to go look. Oh, and blue. Red, black, and blue colored pattern. And when they reprinted it in this book, the patterns have all different colors on here. So, and the, gosh, you'd have to look at the ones on the cooler design. I don't have one. I had the picture, but I don't have the pattern with me right here. I don't know if that is all the colors, or I'm guessing it probably is the all color version. But you'll have to go to their website and check it out. I'm not sure. Okay, let's go on to the other whips. Even though right now the stocking, well, the sweater, I worked exclusively on the sweater to try and get that done. And then the stocking to get those done, because I really just wanted to get those done in November and just be done with them. But I did work on some my other whips before I started the craziness on these 2 earlier in November, so since my last video, so I'll show you those. And starting this week, I will go back to my normal rotation. I'm working on getting my healing garden caught up. It will be caught up and finished by the end of the year. But it is a little behind right now. This is where I track my migraine headaches, because it was a good way to make me actually write stuff down, to journal better every day about them. I decided I needed to be where I was down here, so I didn't feel like I was so far behind all the time. So this is current. I just need to do this week's, finish last week's and do this week's flower. And then I just need to finish November, September, and October in the November, and then I'll be caught up. But this is how it's looking so far. Very happy with this project. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was motivate me to write down the information every day, because I knew if I didn't write it down, then I wouldn't be able to finish the cross stitch. So it did exactly as planned. Oh, that is, the design is by Stitchin' Mommy. She has a Flosstube channel as well as an Etsy shop. And hers is a temperature garden. It's called Temperature Garden, and each petal shows the temperature for the day. It's beautiful. I bought her pattern, purchased it from her, then I adapted it for my use for what I was doing, because I needed the flowers to be 1 week at a time. I needed the Monday petal to always be in the same place so that I could tell where Monday was. So I adapted her design just a little bit to make it work for me. And I think this is, oh, it's either 28 count or 32 count, but I can't remember what color it is. It's Jobelin. Oh, here we go. It's Jobelin Summer Sky. And it doesn't tell me what count it is. It's either 28 or 32. Oh, 28 count. It does say. It's 28 count, Jobelin Summer Sky. And I used the color scheme from Stitchin' Mommy, but I didn't need all of the colors because what I was using it for didn't have such a huge range of temperatures or numbers for me. So I just chose some colors, a kind of a rainbow selection of colors out of her list. I chose which ones I wanted so I could have a range of rainbow. Words to live by, I got November's done, the one that came out on November 15th. So we'll just have December 15th one and January 15th. There's only 2 more to go. This is by Tiny Modernist. It's PDF, comes in my email once a month. It's a mystery stitch along. We didn't have any idea what it would look like before you get each piece each month. This is the whole thing. It is on black 32 count linen. I have really enjoyed it. This last month's one was this one. Stay humble, work hard, be kind. Maybe I need to put something behind that so the sun doesn't shine through it. There. I enjoyed that one. But as you can see, there's only 2 spots left. For December 15th, I'll get in my email, and then January 15th, and then this one will be done. This has been a lot of fun. I love every quote that has come out. I agree with every single one of them. And I love that middle section. It's like pastel chalks. It's just gorgeous colors. That was one of the things that drew it to me from the very beginning, was that center section came out first. And the colors in that, and the little houses, and the trees. I have just really enjoyed working on this. Using the called for DMC floss, 2 strands of floss over 2 fabric threads. And I'm pretty sure, I know it's black linen. I just can't quite remember if it's 32 count or 28 count. But I am pretty sure it's 32 count. I don't know if I have that written down anywhere. If you go back, well, in the description box below, I will put what it actually is. You will have already seen my Praiseworthy Stitches, because I used that in the section where a little bit ago where I was showing you how I start and end floss and how I get overdyed floss ready. But this, I'm excited to work on this in December. This is going to get some time. It's got a nativity right here in the middle. I love it. Rika of House of Stitch and Stash is working on this one as well. I'm up in the top right hand color. I'm missing a couple of colors that 123 Stitch didn't have the day I ordered all the colors. So I need to get online today and see if they have them yet. And I also got some haul I'll tell you about in a minute that might be in there. The colors I'm missing might be in there. I'm using the called for fabric and the called for floss. It's 32 count. Mirage from Picture This Plus is the linen. And I'm using the called for Weeks Dye Works and Gentle Arts overdyed cotton floss that it calls for. I did work a little bit on Maisons et Nichoirs, or French birdhouses. I told you last time that Cindy Sorley from Express, what is it? Stitching Express, her store? Gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, I told you last time that I had ran into her she was at Stitch West, and she saw me stitching on it, and I asked her if there was any way to get a hold of that, and she said, oh yeah, I can get that. I can order it from France. Well, since then she's checked into it, and it's not available in France either. The designer is not designing anymore. So we're back to look for it on eBay, on stash unload sites. This is what the pattern is called. It's a French designer, a mon ami. It's called Maisons et Nichoirs. And this is what it looks like on blue. And this is what it looks like on tannish color. I'm doing mine on 40 count Lakeside Linens Pear. with the called for Gentle Arts overdyed cotton floss. This is where I'm working on this next house right here. I finished this birdhouse up here, this roof, and this birdhouse up here, and now I'm on this house next to it. I can't remember exactly where it was last time I showed it to you. This is what the whole thing looks like. This will be done by the end of the year. I will finish this in December. Easy pattern. Full cross, no blended threads, no half stitches, nothing strange. It's been a very easy pattern to work on. Large blocks of solid color. And I'm sorry that I had no idea. I bought it at my LNS probably 5 years ago. I had no idea it was that hard to find now. I know I keep teasing you with it and then tell you, sorry, the pattern's not available anywhere. I did not work on Shepherd's Fold, but that one will be finished in December. That's the Shepherd's Bush box. And right now I'm working on this part. It's a needle book that goes in the box. Cherish Life by Shepherd's Bush. So far I am on that. I just need to finish this one, and the needle roll and a little scissor fob is all I have left. And I will finish that in December as well. This is one of my Stitch 9 projects, and this will be done. See if we can find, oh good gravy. Here's the needle roll. With the buttons over the picture, of course. All right, where did I do with the picture? Goodness sakes. There it is. Okay, here is the scissor fob that I still need to do. And here is the needle roll. And I may be finishing that on New Year's Eve, but it will be done this year in December. I did get a little bit done on Victorian Charm, which is another one that will be done by the end of December. And this is how far I got on that. I'm working on the front door section. I love this piece. So fun to work on. So I can get this top key snap off so you can see the top. It's looking like all together. There are a whole bunch of stars up in the sky. I'm not doing the stars. One stitch out in the middle of nowhere with no way. You can start it with a pin stitch, but then it's impossible to anchor it when you end the thread. It's just a pain. It's not worth it. I don't think it needs stars. So it's not getting the stars in the sky. That is a Dimensions kit. I'm using the kit fabric and the kit floss, and it is on 18 count dark blue Ada that came with the kit. And then this is the piece that suffered this month because I decided I needed to finish the stocking and the sweater. This is Harvest Time by Prairie Schooler. Looks like I'm just doing that top one. It's on 40 count Silk Weaver Grassy Plain. I was really hoping to have this done in November as well, but it's a Mania start that was assigned to November to finish. And I could have finished it in November if I didn't decide to finish the sweater and the stocking. So this will probably get put away until next November or October next year. It will remain in the Mania rotation because all of my Mania pieces that don't get finished stay in there. I don't get to start a new one unless I finish the old one assigned to that day in May. I usually do the first 20, well this year it was the first 19 days of May. This year I think I'll do first 20 days since it's 2020. You can go to the Facebook group Stitch Mania, M-A-Y-N-I-A, if you want to find out more about Stitch Mania. It's just a fun activity that Stitchers do where they start a whole bunch of stuff in May. Everyone does it different. There's no rules. So that's the only one I feel bad about that did not get much love this month and will probably get put away till next year. But that is okay. I will enjoy it just as much next fall working on it as I enjoyed it this fall working on it. That is all right. I'm loving how it's turning out. It's the called for DMC floss. When I work on 40 count linen, I always use one strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. And Lilia made a special request for me to work on a Stitcher shelf so she could see some progress. She said so it will motivate her to work on hers. So I did. I'll show you the bag. This was a bag I ordered off of the Society 6 website, and it is a print of the artwork, which is by a digital artist. So you can buy her artwork on bags and notebooks and coffee cups. And so I ordered a bag. This is the pattern I am stitching. It's a Heaven and Earth design called a Stitcher Shelf. I'm sure you've seen it before. A lot of people are stitching it. The artwork is by Amy Stewart. And yes, I do have the little bag. I have a notebook that I got it on at the same time. I ordered a little print of the artwork so I could see all the lovely detail in it while I'm stitching on it. And I will it'll be my Heaven and Earth design piece for the rest of my life, probably. Not sure when I will, because I don't work on it often enough to make much progress on it, so it's going to take many years. My needle minder is a little Jane Eyre book. It actually looks like a book. And it has Jane on the front. And I can't remember his name, his silhouette on the back. Her love interest. And this is where I am. I finished the crazy wine bottle down here that had 100 gazillion colors in it, and you can just barely see the top of the little glass of wine next to it. And then I came back up here and I did two 10 by 10 squares up here. You can see a pink book and a purple book on that top shelf. And then all of those beautiful spring flowers, because this stripe, the top stripe of the design, is spring. So I am working right here. This pink book, this purple book, this bottle of wine that's sitting on the table. And then I've started up here. Oh, there's a little bird right here that I'm just about done with. Working the next row down, we'll be working on the edge of that window with the hot air balloons outside. You can see that the top row is spring, summer, fall, winter. I bought the design. There's two versions. Well, there's several versions of this design. The one with 230 colors, the one with 90 colors. I'm doing the one with 90 something colors version. And then you can get it with this little medallion in the middle that says A Stitch in Time, or without. I bought the version that does not have this medallion because I loved what was on the shelf behind the medallion. So I bought the version that does not have the medallion. So Lilia, that was just for you. I pulled that out and worked on it. It will get some regular time in 2020. And I think that's everything. Linda, I did not work on a band of roses since my last video, but that will, now that we've gotten the craziness of the sweater and the stocking is almost done, that will start getting its regular love now too. And I haven't worked on my Sunday piece, which is Morning Has Broken. I haven't worked on that one lately either. So I think that's everything for whips. What else is on the list? Okay, I think I did everything except old finishes and what I wish I was stitching on, which for Sarah, we're going to talk about the nativity patterns and things that I have stitched before, because she asked to see those. I haven't finished hardly any of my nativity patterns, but I'll show you the ones that I did. I finished this one last Christmas, last December. This is by Manger Ornament by Alessandra Adelaide. Looks like this. I did not do the little hanger of the ornament on the top, and I didn't do the gold. It calls for, it has a accent gold color in it for part of it, and I didn't do that either. I did it all in one color with some Gloriana red. I love it. And that Alessandra Adelaide also has one with the shepherds on it, and one with the this one is shepherds. This one is the wise men. This one is called the Three Kings ornament, and the other one is called the shepherd ornament. So I would like to do those two as well, so that they can hang together. And I think I'm still, it's a little big for a Christmas ornament, but I think I'm still going to make it into a Christmas ornament. I'll do some kind of a flat finish so that I can hang it as a Christmas ornament. Eventually, because you know how much I love fully finishing things. Not. Okay, this is a pattern by Blackberry Lane Designs. Can't remember if it was called the Three Wise Men or just the Wise Men. I can't remember, but it is by Blackberry Lane Designs. Originally, she said she was going to do a series of 6 in this series that would all go together. This is 20. Do you know what? I think this is 28 count linen, 1/1. And it was insane to stitch. 1 strand of floss over 1 fabric thread on 28 count linen, so it is 28 stitches per inch. And Catherine had to help me finish it because I got partway through it and just said, I'm gonna die, I can't. So she did part of this one. I think she did part of this one. Now I can't remember. Catherine, you'll have to tell us. I love how it turned out. It is absolutely gorgeous. I will get this finished, fully finished, so I can hang it up on the tree. It is just amazing. Then I did this one as well in that same series, Blackberry Lane Designs. Mary and Joseph and the donkey on their way to Bethlehem. And this one I got smarter and did 25 count even weave 1/1, which is the same as I do Heaven and Earth Designs fabric projects on, but it's still 1 strand of DMC floss over 1 fabric thread. I love how that turned out. It is gorgeous. It's like a mini Heaven and Earth design. It really is. If you want to try a Heaven and Earth type with design without doing a huge one that's going to take you the rest of your life, these Blackberry Lane designs would be a good place to start because it's a much smaller project, much smaller finish. And then there's this one, Keeping Watch by Blackberry Lane Designs, in that same series. It's been several years and I've not seen any more come out, so maybe she's just sticking with but I haven't checked lately either. Maybe you should go look. Maybe I should go look. I don't know if she's given up on doing all 6, if she's just going to do 3. But I think they're gorgeous. I want to stitch this one as well so that they can all be ornaments on the tree. Catherine, I know, helped me on this one. Took it home and did for Mother's Day one year and worked on it to get me going on it again because I was bogged down and talking about how much I hated it. So she took it home and did several hours on it. Probably several weeks on it, and then gave it back to me, and then I finished it. So those are all the things that I have actually stitched. Now I'll show you just what's in my stash that has nativity on it. This is a Mill Hill little ornament that is so cute. Mary and Joseph and the baby, and it's called Nativity. It's in the Winter Holiday Collection, and it's called Nativity. I love that one. I found it at Shepherd's Bush. This is a Bothy Threads kit cut through Nativity. This would be more of a children's. My grandkids would love to see this on my wall or on a pillow. Maybe I'll do it as a pillow so they can touch it and look at it and see it. But I love all the detail in it. It is the cutest thing. Even what's buried under the ground. What's up in the attic. I love this one. This one makes me smile. Bothy Threads. I bought it from my L&S. They ordered it. I think this company is in the UK, I believe. They have a whole cut-through series. I have several of their cut-through series. It was $50 through my L&S for them to order it in and then sell it to me. So they're expensive, but it does come with the fabric and the floss. And I think it's so cute. This is a Jim Shore 3 Kings that you've probably seen before with Mill Hill, with a ton of beads that go on it. I have all the beads for it. I would love to start this sooner than later. I think it's gorgeous. Love that one. Love Jim Shore designs. This is Medieval Nativity, and it was in Treasures in Needlework magazine, winter 1992 was where this was from. It was actually, there's several others in the series that came out in those magazines that are a similar style. One was a castle. I think it was a 2-part, 2 separate designs that were kind of the same castle scene, but this one was a nativity scene, and I love it because I collect nativities. Well, I should say I collect nativity patterns, hoping to get them all done one day. I showed these to you last year. These were in Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine, July, August of 94, September, October of 94, and where's the cover? November, December of 94. And they were little, you can see the picture up here in the corner. It's like a little nativity set, and they're each separate little pieces, or you could make them into ornaments. This one is the Kings. This one is the Shepherd and the Camel. And this one is Mary and Joseph and the Baby and the Angel. And I would love to do these. Can't decide if I would have them be ornaments or like they have in the little standing up in a little nativity. And then I also saw these in Better Homes and Gardens Special Interest publication, Cross Stitch Christmas from 1994. Looks like this. Has the Santa on the front. I've seen everything off my lap. And it had these ornaments. They're just flat on perforated paper or the plastic canvas, plastic Aida you can stitch on and then just cut it out. They'd be a lot easier to stitch, but I don't have the rest of the series. I just have the Kings. I'm assuming there were more in the series. I don't know. I would love to find them if there were. This is a Stony Creek, Oh Holy Night nativity. Love this pattern as well. I love the feel of it. I love the design. It's very elegant. Beautiful pattern. And then this is by the Stitching Parlor, Birth of Jesus. A much different feel of a nativity, but I love it as well. More of a hot climate nativity where there's pine trees or palm trees maybe. Beautiful. And I think, I went through all my stash, I think that's all of my nativity patterns. But I was happy to show those for Sarah. They make me want to work on all of them. And I think that is everything today. That was a lot of stuff. Sorry it took me so long to get caught up again and tell you all of my news. I will definitely film again before Christmas and let you know how everything's going. And I will definitely get with Marie and we'll tell you who finished the stocking challenge on Instagram, and we'll also show it in my next video. I'll let you know what happened. I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous day with some stitchy time and enjoy this wonderful time of year. See you later. Just kidding. I forgot haul. I completely forgot haul. And I have a little bit of haul. Okay, I was at Joann's buying, I was almost done with this sweater. It was late at night and I ran out of 3865, the white that's all over in this bottom snow section. I was so close to being finished and I ran out of floss. So I had to go to Joann's on Monday. That was a late Saturday night. I went on Monday to buy some more 3865. And while I was there, and some of you may remember my scissor fob. She's a doll charm for a necklace, but I use them as scissor fobs that you can buy at Joann's. This was one I bought in May, and I used it as my scissor fob last May. I think she is so cute. She makes me smile. They had Christmas. I know they had Halloween ones. I saw the Halloween ones in October, but I didn't realize they were going to have Christmas ones, and I think most of them were gone. There were only 2 left. I'm sure you could get them online, though, on their online store. But they had this cute little girl in her little sweater. So this is going to be my December scissor fob. They are by Hildy and Joe brand at Joann's. And so far, they're doing some every season. I just think they're the cutest things. So she's going to be my scissor fob for December. Oh, and all of their Hildy and Joe was 50% off. So there were also these charms or pendants, necklace pendants, Christmas ones that were 50% off. And sometimes when I'm feeling very extravagant, I put these little charms on my ring of floss. So I bought those to put on a Christmas themed ring of floss for a project there. Or maybe I'll wear it as a necklace, who knows? My wonderful friend Robin in Virginia asked me if she was getting rid of a lot of her overdyed cotton floss because she said she mostly uses DMC now, and asked me if I wanted it, and I said sure. And she's also had some old punch work punch needle and primitive stitcher. She had a stack of magazines, asked me if I would be interested in those. So she sent me those. Thank you, Robin. I love magazines. Oh, and this one too. Oh, no, this is the one. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Hang on. Back to Robin. So she sent me that stack of magazines, as well as when she said a little bit of overdyed cotton floss. I did not realize she meant this much overdyed cotton floss. I am so excited. I am hoping that maybe a couple of the colors I'm missing from my Churchyard Christmas are in here. And I will definitely use every single one of these because more and more patterns that I'm working on call for overdyed cotton floss. So thank you, Robin. I am so excited. Oh, plus more. That wasn't even all of it. There was more. This one. And some loose ones. Telling you, I hit the jackpot when that box showed up. Thank you, Robin. That was so nice of you to share those with me. After I got home from Stitch West, I think I told you that I had bought this Anya fabric from Leslie of Under the Sea Fabrics. It's a very beautiful peachy pink color that is opalescent, so it is sparkly as well. Not sure if you can see those sparkles. Well, there we go. I bought it purposely for this pattern because I saw Leslie working on it. On that piece of fabric, I have been looking at this pattern forever. It's so cute. I don't know what the real name of the pattern is because it's in Russian. It's Whale Village or something. I think you'd have to go to the website and then have translate it for you. But it's based on a Russian fairy tale. It's a little village that's living on the back of a whale, and I just think it is so cute. It's by Owl Forest Embroidery, which is a company in Russia. I went to their website, Owl Forest Embroidery, and ordered it from Russia. I just hit the translate button so it would translate the web page for me. Used my PayPal account to pay for it. It came in somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks later. I got it in the mail. There are a few stores here, resellers in the United States that are reselling Owl Forest embroidery patterns as well. So you may be able to get it from one of them. And it is the cutest little, it's a kit. It only comes as a kit. You can't, they have some of their patterns you can buy as a PDF download off their website. And some are only sold as a kit. And this one in particular was only sold as a kit. And this is what's in the kit. The pattern is printed on this gorgeous heavyweight paper. And they're big, which is so nice because then you don't have to tape pages together. And you know, when you're dealing with the break in the page, what a pain that is. And then they also gave it to a second version that is in little pieces in case you wanted to just have little pieces of each section, maybe on your, like I do, where I magnet it next to the cross stitch. Here is the beautiful floss that it came with. And these little floss cards. So pretty. They look to be overdyed. I don't know if they're cotton or silk. I'm guessing cotton. Maybe I should touch them and find out what I think. Oh, I don't know. I think cotton. Came with this beautiful needle minder, which is right off of the pattern. That little boat is in the pattern. On this little owl card. And a needle. This beautiful company little brochure. How pretty that is. Telling me about their company with some basic stitching instructions inside. And it also comes with this beautiful yellow fabric. It's an overdyed fabric, buttery yellow color. Maybe it says in here what. Oh, no. But I'll be using this Anya fabric, A-I-N-E, from Under the Sea Fabrics to do it on. So I'm so excited. That will probably be a mania start for 2020. Because, oh, I saw Leslie working on it and just thought, oh, you know, where sometimes that just hits you and you're just like, oh, okay, I've got to stitch that. Usually when you see it in person, right? I got some more stitchy kindness in the mail. From Kim in North Carolina. Someday I'm going to visit North Carolina. But Kim was so nice. She sent me 2 kits. This one called Den Mother. Look at those beautiful foxes and the beautiful grapes. Oh, it's a gorgeous, it's a artiste, A-R-T-I-S-T-E kit with the fabric and the floss. And then this is a Busilla, the Lord's Prayer kit. Also just gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Kim. Also comes with the floss and the fabric. That was so nice of you. I can't wait. Maybe I need to put one of those in my mania starts as well. My fabulous friend, Kathy D, gave me a really nice color photo of my Morning Has Broken project. It was a class piece, and sometimes you need to look at the photo to figure out what you're doing. So thank you, Kathy. That was so nice of you. And then I keep forgetting to say that while I was at, I can't wait to read this magazine. I hadn't even opened it yet. I've been working so hard on this sweater and the stocking that I didn't even, like, you know, when you just lay down and relax and read your stitching magazine. At StitchCon last summer, one of the door prizes was a year's subscription to Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine, and I was so excited to win that. I won that. That was what I won. So she took my information down, and then a few months after StitchCon, I got my first issue in the mail, and then I got this one. This is the Christmas Winter 2019. Came in the mail last week or the week before, I can't remember. I'm so excited to read it. My good friend Vonna, the Twisted Stitcher, always has a feature in here, a finishing feature. And it just has, oh, cute, cute. It's got cross stitch patterns as well as punch needle patterns. I did punch needle when I was in junior high. I tried punch needle. I enjoyed it, but I don't do it anymore. But I do love all the cross stitch patterns in it. So cute. That one is Barbara Anna. Holy Night. So cute. Just fun, fun magazine. Oh, and Vonna, the section from Vonna shows you how to make the star. If you want to finish one of your pieces into a star ornament or finish. And then I also while I was at Joann's, I always check to see if they have the latest cross stitch crazy and the World of Cross-Stitching magazines from the UK in stock. So I had to get both of those because they did. And I haven't even had a chance to lay down and read these either. Look at that. King. So excited. And one came with this ornament. It has the hoop and the fabric and floss and everything. One of the magazines had that attached to the front of it. And the other one had this cool accessory box attached to the front of the magazine inside the plastic. The tray comes, both of those little sections open up so you can get to the sections that are underneath, and then the whole thing folds up into a little box. And it says the name of the magazine on the front of it. So excited to read those. I didn't even have a chance to look through it yet, so I could tell you or show you my favorite. Oh, here's a picture of the box opened up. Oh, look at the cute. Okay, I'll try not to show the pattern. Look at the cute little mouse. So fun. So I can't wait to lay down and relax. Maybe if I see something I really like, maybe I'll show it to you on the next video. I think that's all of my haul. Although I need to sit down today and order some flosses that I'm missing for Churchyard Christmas if they're not in my stack from Robin. And then I also need to see if I can find those miniature jingle bells to put on Lauren's stocking. All right. I think for reals, that's everything. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.